Well, hello everybody out there in our viewers field for the Progress Report. This is the Progress Report for the first Wednesday in April. It's April 4th, as you all know. Still feeling a little like winter out there, but it is April, and I'm expecting my good friend, well, I think I do have somebody here. I do think my first week of the month co-host, Lou D'Alessandro, has just arrived. There he is. And it's very good to see you, Lou. And this is a good thing because we have a really fine guest for the show tonight, and that is Stan Spiro, a legend in education and sports, especially basketball in the city of Manchester. And my co-host is another legend in education, sports, and coaching, Lou D'Alessandro. So we are going to be talking about Stan's unbelievable career in education and coaching. He told me we were coming in that Lou had something to do with introducing him to coaching at Central. I'm going to let you take that. But 8 years at Central, 36 years coaching basketball at Southern New Hampshire University. And what a distinguished career it has been. Many fine young people have benefited from going through his program at SNU, and I'm sure at Central before that. So, Stan, thank you for coming down and joining us. We're just delighted you're here.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Before we begin, is there a rule in terms of having three Democrats on the same show, or is this? It's got to be fake news, right?
Yeah, well,
but it's a pleasure.
we actually started this show, Stan, several years ago. Mike Farley and I, who's my co-host when Lou's not here on the first Wednesday, because we were looking at the lineup here, and we didn't like the looks of the lineup. There was a bunch of people on the other side. Some of them we thought were pretty extreme, so we said we're going to have a voice here. So no, this is not unusual, and we
good to be.
We're happy to have you with us and to know that you're proud to be a Democrat, as Lou and I are. So, Lou, why don't you take it away? Because you know about Stan's career and
great to
facilitated
have him.
it, I guess.
No, thank you. I don't know about facilitated, but great to have him on the show. And first of all, congratulations on a magnificent career at Southern New Hampshire University, and prior to that at Central High School. Actually, I had a meeting with John Kakavas Friday at his office. We were talking about the days when you were coaching at Central, and John was a player for you. John has become U.S. Attorney and now a very successful lawyer and represents the Hitchcock Group. So Stanley, a young man, comes over from Greece and learns the American way, and it is really kind of the American dream in essence. Goes on to become a very successful coach, but personally a wonderful dad, great family. His daughter marries Ryan Day. He's out at Ohio State University. He's a coach out there, very successful coach, great player at the University of New Hampshire, my alma mater. And so he's got a rich tradition, and his success at Southern New Hampshire is really acclaimed. As you said, 600 victories. That's unbelievable. A number of NCAA tournament appearances. Had some wonderful players, and it's always nice to know that good guys are successful. And Stan's always been a good guy. I remember him when he came to our basketball camp when I was in business with Don Nelson and Tom Sanders, Satch and Nellie, both players for the Celtics, and we started a basketball camp in Litchfield, New Hampshire, Camp Litchhaven, and we started out with just a few players and a lot of Manchester kids. And Stan came to our camp. I tried to recruit Stanley to come to New Hampshire College to play for me. But of course, he was a big timer. He wanted to go to Keene. So he wanted to go across the state. Well, he wanted to go west. He was following Horace Greeley's
my biggest regret in my basketball life, not playing for you, Senator.
Well, thank you. But go west and seek your fortune, and he did. But I think the success at Southern New Hampshire is really terrific, and they are truly a national power in Division II basketball, and that's credit to Stan and Jay Dufour, who's been with him forever. Has been his assistant, I think, for 33 years, and that's loyalty, and life's all about relationships. So, great career, and Stan, it's always nice to pick the time when you think it's time to give it up. In many instances, that's not the case. We think of coaches getting relieved of their duties on a daily basis, but when you can choose the time and go out on your terms, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And you'll have a great career behind you. As I said, 600 wins. The institution has grown dramatically. I mean, it's a big time university now, and you were part of the success of this situation. So, got to be proud of the Spiros.
Yeah. Did you ever expect when you went from Central's an institution for over 100 years in this city, but did you ever, when you went to SNU, at that time it was probably still New Hampshire College, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
New Hampshire College, and I've been blessed. Certainly, and again, I'm not going to be here taking all the credit, the stuff that Lou's been saying. I've been blessed to be at the right place at the right time. Certainly, the foundation was built, with Lou being the first coach ever at back then New Hampshire College. Later on, P.J. Carlissimo for a year, and then Tom Sullivan for 16 years. So when I arrived in 1985, a lot of this stuff was in place. And what we did was work hard to get it more involved within the community, and also to take it from a regional experience to a national experience. And as the senator pointed out, along with Jay Dufour, who has been my assistant for 33 years, was my assistant also. We were together at Central High School. We were fortunate to get the support from the school and from the community and the state. And as Lou said, I've been fortunate not to get fired, and now it's time to move on to a different life and give an opportunity, for my grandkids to see their papu.
When you started there, when it was still New Hampshire College, I don't know, was it even on the campus up in Hooksett at that time? Or?
No, the campus was up in Hooksett. It just came from downtown.
Right.
When I was going to Central High School, and Senator D'Alessandro was recruiting me to come, to New Hampshire College, the campus was right on top of Palace Fruit, Cherry's Donuts.
Right.
And I remember, how he is, very persistent in terms of you're coming to New Hampshire College, and I said, Mr. D'Alessandro, I'm not going to come to school 2 blocks away from where I grew up on Spruce Street. And he said, recommended a couple schools, and I decided to go to Keene, and we remained friends ever since. And I was fortunate enough to go to his very first basketball camp, and we have done some clinics together. And Lou has been there every step of the way, very supportive in terms of what I've done as a coach at New Hampshire College, Southern New Hampshire. But always, anytime we needed anything from him in terms of involving the state or the community, Lou was always up front.
Did you ever, when you started out, it's hard to believe, 36 years ago, did you ever foresee, well, 2 things. I want to ask you how the game has changed over the years. But I think I'd like to also know, did you foresee the unbelievable growth of SNU at that time? Did you think it would turn into as Lou says, it's clearly a national institution now, and it's an astonishing story that school's growth and
it's one of the greatest academic stories, and I'm just glad I was part of it, and to see how this thing evolved from ground zero to, as the senator said and you said, one of the best academic stories, not only nationally but internationally. There were times there, my second and third year, where we were turning in food chits that they were giving us. The school was just about to go bankrupt, and Bill Green, I'm sure the name resonates with you people in the community. Took over for a year and really took the school out of the financial crisis that we were in, and then later Dick Gustafson for 16 years, great president, had tremendous great work, a tremendous vision, took the school to the next level, and now we have Paul LeBlanc, who
I was taking it
one
even
of the
to a
greatest,
higher level.
one of the greatest thinkers outside the box, who has done an unbelievable job, and to be part of this, for me, is something that I will never forget, and I'm just glad that we were a small part of how this thing evolved, because at the time we did have a good program, and we were one of the small beacons of what was going on at New Hampshire College, and we're proud of that.
Yeah. So over these years you've been coaching, what changes have you seen in the game? I mean, it seems like it's got to be different with all this time, right?
A lot of changes, Bob, but also a lot of the same things. Kids nowadays have the same wants and needs that the kids had back, when I started in the 70s, when Lou started in the 60s. But they have a little more baggage, and they have you have to play a few different roles than what we played, when we were coaching back in the 70s. You have to be a little bit more than a coach. You have to be a psychiatrist at times. You have to be a counselor. You have to be a parent a lot, especially when you're, recruiting internationally or, inner city. And you have to wear a lot of different hats, and I think that's probably the greatest change. The game has changed a little bit because of the three-point line.
Right.
The three-point line was not in existence when Lou was coaching, when I was playing. And, it's changed. I think it's, a little more athletic, but it's the same thing. The kids want to win. They want to work hard. They want to be disciplined. And we really have, we've been fortunate. We never had any problems in terms of discipline, or, we had to kick some kids' butts in terms of, the academics going to class. But that's all part of it.
Yeah, that's part of education, for sure.
For sure.
Let's see, what was I going to ask you? Oh, slipped my mind.
Well,
Anything on Donald Trump?
Oh, we're holding that. We're holding that in abeyance. I think the player of today is more athletic, better conditioned, because they have better programs for the players than they had when I started coaching, and the 3-point play has really revolutionized the game. As Bill Russell revolutionized professional basketball with the fast break. Great rebounder, great outlet pass, fast break. You don't see that anymore. People walk it up, take it to half court, set up a play. The 3-point play is always there, as you saw in the championship game. I mean, the turning point in the championship game was when the Villanova player made that amazing 3-point shot. That set the thing going. So, yeah, I think the players are better athletes. They're better athletes than they were many years ago. The 3-point play makes the difference. I think. Look at the facilities you play in now compared to what was in place in the past. You got really decent facilities.
That's why I didn't go to New Hampshire College. You were playing your games at Goslar Street,
Goslar Park.
and Bishop Bradley was
Bishop
the
Bradley.
great gym, and a couple times at the boys club. And I said,
Yeah.
this,
Wow.
I'd rather play at Short Emmett Park than
right.
at Goslar.
And I think those are the kind of the dramatic changes in the game. But they're bigger. I mean, players are bigger. I think if you're at the Division I level, there's no room in the inside. That's why the game has changed. It's an outside game.
Well,
you can't get it in there.
Right. If you go, especially if you go to an NBA game, it's ludicrous.
It is.
The size of these guys, the athleticism, the physical specimens that are running. People don't realize that this game was invented in the early 1900s by Dr. Naismith, and the biggest kid was 6'1",
Sure.
6 feet.
Yeah.
These guys are 7 feet, with wingspans that, make them 7'7", and there's just not enough, not enough room on the court. Just like it isn't enough room on a football field the way these guys run. Linebackers are running 4.4s now,
Right.
and those used to be the running backs back in the '60s, and and the football fields and the basketball courts are, are not conducive to, the size and the speed of today's, games.
I think that's it.
Yeah, speed
exactly
kills in
right.
every sport.
Well,
doesn't it?
with reference to the basketball, you got forwards now that are 6'10", 6'11" forwards, and 7
Bill
footers.
Russell was 6'9".
Right.
And you have the Greek freak there that's 6'10", 6'11", that takes, 2 dribbles and it covers the whole court. It really is.
Yeah.
It's
This is
but again, though, the basic fundamentals that were preached, back in the 40s and 50s, are still preached by the good coaches today. When you go to a Duke practice, or you go to a Michigan State practice, or a Jay Wright's practice at Villanova, they're doing a lot of the same things that we were doing back in the 70s and 60s. But these kids also need a little more freedom than the way we played it back in the 50s, where you made 30 passes to get the same shot that you could have gotten 3 minutes before.
How much of your job, and talk about it if you can, is recruitment? How do you go about getting the players to keep your school competitive in the high level at which it plays?
On the college level, Bob, that's the key. You need to bring in quality kids. We can sit here and talk about, all these great coaches that we just talked about, Krzyzewski, Pitino. If you don't have the players like John Wooden, people say the greatest player in the world. Well, look at the people that he had. So recruiting is the key. But a lot of people cannot win, with talent. But early years, we spent a lot of time traveling to New York, Connecticut. We did a lot of international recruiting, which was conducive in terms of, we as a basketball program did not do anything different than what the school was doing. The school recruited a lot of, international students. Eddie Shapiro basically started the school by, recruiting international students. So it was easy for us because of the makeup of the school. It's, a heterogeneous grouping at Southern New Hampshire. It's not a homogeneous. People are not, from the same region, the Northeast. We have kids from all over the world. We've had, basketball players from all over the world. We've had them from all over the East Coast. And the last few years, we've concentrated on recruiting prep school kids. St. Thomas More, a school in Connecticut, has been, great with us. We've had kids locally here from New Hampton. And that's the key. You cannot win with just 5 kids, off the street. You need talent, and talent recruits talent, and that's the beauty of this business. Mike Krzyzewski now doesn't recruit; he selects. But that's what he's established.
He's got such a great reputation.
Right, and that's the hard work that he put in those early years, and we felt a little bit of that, at our place, but on a smaller level.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, recruiting is the name of the game. The new phenomenon in basketball is the 1 and out, which great article in the Globe today about 1 and out, and how now even Krzyzewski is faced with that situation, where the Villanova guys were stayers. They stayed, so they got the opportunity to learn how to play together, and the coach, just as you said, the coach recruits his players based on their ability to stay there.
Yeah, but you know what it is, Lou? It becomes an issue also. I'm a big believer of if this kid is talented enough, who is telling them they have to go and stay for 1 or 2 years, football 3 years? If your son or daughter was the best in math or computers coming out of high school as a senior, and some corporation offered them $2 million to come and work, what are you going to say? Go to school for a year? You're going to be better off? Why can a tennis player turn pro at 15? Why can't a golfer turn pro at 16, 17? And a black basketball player has to go to school for a year or 2 years? I mean, it's, you know,
Well, I mean, I've talked to Tom Sanders about that endlessly. And he was very much on the same page as Stan. If you have the ability, why should you be restricted from moving forward?
Yeah.
Particularly with
a hockey player turns pro 15 years old.
Oh, sure. Bobby Orr was
you
playing
know.
pro when he was 14 years old. They took him away from home, and he played his, in my opinion, the greatest hockey player ever. So,
Certainly.
And the other thing we have to do is, when you do recruit one of these kids, give them a lifetime scholarship. Now, a lot of these kids are not going to graduate in 4 years,
Yeah.
even if they stay, or in 5 years. Give them a scholarship where they, you know, if they're going to come in and work their butts off and put 108,000 people in the stands like they
Right.
do at Ohio State football, and their jerseys are being sold for $150, give them the opportunity that maybe 5 years down the road, come and finish your degree.
Right.
Because they're using these kids.
Sure.
They're making, you know, millions of dollars. And they say, well, we're giving you an education. Well, it's more than that. They're not indentured servants.
Yeah.
It's a,
Yeah.
you know, it used to be fun. Now it's a business.
Yeah.
At that level. But I think Stan's kept it fun. And I think that's a key to a good coach, because you keep the players interested in the game, playing together and winning, and playing good competition and playing at the highest level. Therein lies the things beyond just a coach.
Yeah.
You know, you're a mentor, you're a counselor, you're a person who's involved in the lives of those kids. And you know, I'll give you a quickie. A kid walked into my office last week. He played for me 50 years ago. 50 years ago. He walks in and he says, "Hi, Coach D'Alessandro. I've come by here and I thought I'd say hello." This kid named Sidway. He became a police officer in Nashua. 50 years ago he played for me. He comes in and then he sends me an email with the line score of the game we played in Boston. We played a preliminary game to the Celtics. He sends me the score sheet of the game. So I think that's kind of what it's all about.
That is what it's all about.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
the wins and losses, the championships. You know, you brought up the name John Kakavas before.
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
John, yeah.
coaching John in high school. You know, along with David Keefe and some. Those are the great memories. Those are the relationships that
Right.
evolve. You know, in this business. And you know, a lot of people talk. You know, they ask me questions about this championship. I really don't remember. You know, a lot of these games, you know, coached in, you know, over 1,000 games in counting high school. What I do remember are the kids, the
Sure.
relationships,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
stay friends, and the story that Lou just said, that's the impact you have in this business by being more than a coach.
Yeah. I remember when I started practicing law with Divine Millimet, Joe Millimet told me, he said, as you go through your career, he said, you'll forget the issues, you'll forget all about it, but you'll remember the other lawyers. And I found that was very true.
Well, I think when you
Same kind of thing.
Sure, when you reduce it to the lowest common denominator, it's all about relationships.
It certainly
The
is.
relationships that you have made.
In
and
every
you
endeavor.
sustain.
Right,
Yes.
and I think Senator, you can correct, and this is the problem that is happening in politics right now. That game used to have relationships. It didn't matter whether you agreed or disagreed with
Right.
somebody. You know, when you go back to the 80s, and that's why this game still has, the sports
Right.
has remained tight. It doesn't matter what background you're from,
Yeah.
whether you're black, white, Greek, Italian.
Right.
Okay, you have a common goal. Right now in politics, there's no common goal.
I'm afraid you're exactly right about that. We don't meet in a common place and stick around. They say that's one of the problems in Washington.
Right.
And everybody goes away as soon as the Congress is out. They go home. They don't stay and get to know each other. And I think it's even with the Grand Old Highway Hotel.
Right.
That great
Right.
mixing
Great
spot.
place, yeah. It serves its purpose.
It served its purpose.
in many ways. But I think at the college level, you can still do that, and I think the most successful programs sustain themselves in that fashion.
Yeah.
And then those kids that you coached in go out and recruit other kids. They send you kids to come and play, and that was always the case when I was coaching at New Hampshire College.
Well, we usually take a break about this
Yeah.
time, Lou, if that's okay with you.
Well, Steely's so good,
Well, no, wait a minute. Before we take a break, we've got a call. Let's take
Yeah, you're only 10 minutes away from your second one.
Okay, well,
okay.
we'll take our call. We got a caller, right, Paul?
Yeah, you can go ahead and answer that if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi there, caller. You're on the air with the Progress Report with Lou D'Alessandro and I and Stan Spiro. You got
I just want to say hi to everybody. I'd like to say hi to Stan, please.
Sure, he's right
Of
here.
course.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, Stan. I just want to wish you good luck. I never really played basketball, but I always, watch you on the news or whatever. But I remember you from way back in the probably early 60s. I was brought up on Cedar Street. And I remember your grandfather, he had a coffee shop. He used to live upstairs from the coffee shop.
Oh, you kidding me? What?
I'm serious. I'm serious.
Oh, you kidding me? I used to work. That was my father's coffee house on Cedar between Pine and Union.
Yes, I lived upstairs.
What was the last name, if you don't mind?
So, Cody.
Oh, Cody. Right.
Of course you remember. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, those were great times. I used to work. I used to work there, all the time. Yeah. Great neighborhood.
Clevis Park.
Calivas Park,
Yeah.
great neighborhood, and Thanes Market.
Yeah, Famous and Samara. Yes.
Yeah, Thanes Market. Unbelievable.
My God, that was way back. But Stan, those were the days you could leave your doors unlocked. Everybody would be sitting outside on the steps at night time waiting for the ice cream man.
Yeah, and not only that, everybody helped one another. Our family, had just come over, and everybody in the neighborhood was so great. Whether you were French, Greek, Irish, everybody just got together. And again, one common goal. Everybody, would work either in the sweatshops or some local, and then they would.
I know.
Yeah. Well, it's great hearing from you, and I really appreciate it. Your call and all the. You just brought me back to my youth.
Okay.
Well, like I said, I remember your grandfather. I remember he had a gold tooth.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Interesting the things you remember. isn't
Great,
it?
That was
great.
A couple houses down with the Klansmen.
Yeah, great memories. Great memories.
Okay.
Yeah, the Klansmen, Arthur Klansmen and Charles.
Oh yeah, Arthur Calan.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
Billy Papa John. Billy Papa
Yeah.
John. They were all in there. Chris Chakas, all in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, I know. Those were the days you did your doors unlock and play games on the back alley. Hide and seek, whatever.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Okay, well, I just want to say good luck to you, Stan.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great hearing from you. Thanks. Good luck.
Good luck.
All right.
All right. Thanks for calling. Well, that was nice. And hope we get some more calls because it would be fun to have people have their memory of being part of Stan's life, and particularly his life in basketball, but any other part of his life. One thing that's been kind of interesting that just, I don't know if you agree with this, but basketball was a game invented in the United States. We got the Basketball Hall of Fame down in Springfield. You told us who the inventor was, but now it seems like it's of all the sports we've developed in the United States, this one seems to have the most international acceptance, I think. And there's great quality basketball programs around the world now, aren't there?
It is unbelievable how it's involved, and Luke can speak for that. I remember, when I was a high school coach, I went over. I was invited to speak for a week at a clinic and some camps in England, and I remember doing a clinic one day, and one of the coaches came up to me and said, "Hey, do you know Lou D'Alessandro in the United States?" I said, "Oh, do I?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, yeah, he was here 5 years ago, and he was teaching us passing." And he goes, "Look at my finger. He almost broke my finger passing the ball, hard to me." So I told him, he's up at New Hampshire College, and a lot of coaches had gone over, and right now to see the basketball the way it evolved in Europe, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Greece has always had some good basketball.
Yeah.
Italy's had
Yes.
great basketball. Israel, great basketball.
Kobe Bryant Kobe
Yeah,
Kobe
played
Bryant played in Italy, speaks perfect Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, did his high school in Italy,
Wow.
and owned a team in Italy.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids that don't make it for long stretches in the NBA, they go over.
They go over to Europe.
Our Bonner here has played in Italy for a couple of years
did he?
before he went in the NBA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a guy from Concord, New Hampshire, who had a great career. Just think if we could have kept him in New Hampshire, you would have had a 7-footer.
Yeah, right, yeah.
You know,
But they're really putting in a lot of money, and I'm going to tell you, the next Power, we were there with the team. Paul LeBlanc, our president, had a relationship with some schools in China. So I believe it was like 7-8 years ago. We went to China, and you wouldn't believe every stop we would ride, from Shanghai to Beijing, and that's all you saw at 1 o'clock in the morning. Kids just playing basketball. In 10 years, that's going to be a world power in terms of they're in love with the game.
Really?
well, Yao Ming. Well, I was
Yao Ming, yeah.
I was in Shanghai on business, and just prior to the Olympic Games coming to China, they had basketball courts everywhere with lights on, so they were playing it. They were playing into the night, and he was the greatest thing since sliced bread in
And
China.
how tall was he? He was
7'3",
enormous.
7'4". Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He was a big boy. He was a big
And
boy.
they have the numbers to be good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they do have the numbers. Yeah, when you're looking at 3 or 4 billion,
Right. Right.
yeah, you can be quite selective. But Stanley, the growth of the physical plant at Southern New Hampshire University. Look at what's happened in terms of the building itself, the basketball court, the facilities that are now there. You got the weight facilities. You got the swimming pool that's there. You got a great venue to play with. You got the Penman Club, and I mean all those things couldn't have been done without the success of Stanley, and the enthusiasm, the crowds that you brought in. I mean, seen many nights when, God rest his soul, Muscle Chipopoulos was there, seated right there, best two-hand set shot in the history of basketball. So all those guys would come to every game, and built a great following for the game of basketball. In New Hampshire, and your rivalry with St. Anselm. Well, those were great games, very competitive.
Great games, and I couldn't thank enough the community for giving us all the support, over the years. We talked a little bit before about recruiting.
Yes.
Recruiting is a lot easier when you bring a recruit up and show them, like you said, the physical plants,
Right.
the facilities. We've had, one of the better gymnasiums in Division II in our league in the Northeast. You bring them through campus now to see, all the new buildings. You bring a kid, in front of 1,500 fans, a lot of people from the community, where they go into another school and let's say Bentley, and there's like 100 or 200. It makes a difference.
Oh,
and
yeah, huge.
this is something that we worked hard, over the years to cultivate, and by doing a lot of clinics, getting involved with a boys club, getting involved with a YMCA, giving out free
Sure.
tickets to the community just to come in and see the product, and once they see it, they like it, they're going to draw more people in, and that's the beauty of it.
Right, for sure.
We got another caller. Let's see what our caller has to say. Hi, caller. You're on the progress report with Lou D'Alessandro and me and Stan Sparrow. We're talking about his distinguished career in education and as a coach. And go right ahead if you got something you'd like to contribute or a question.
Yes, I'd just like to congratulate Stan on a successful career at SNU. I don't want to tell him who I am, but I want to describe myself as him and I had the sharpest elbows in Class L basketball.
Don't say anymore. Ned DeRoches.
Ned.
The toughest
Stanley,
pound.
congratulations. Lou, how are you?
Good, Ned. How are you doing?
Thank you, Ned. The toughest pound for pound forward in the history of Class L, Ned DeRosa. No one tougher.
Yeah, Ned was really.
They didn't mess around with us. They were going to get hit with bones from
Yeah.
every direction, Ned.
Yeah, I can remember Ned watching you play, watching you grow up here in Manchester, and Central had some good teams, some quality teams.
Great
and,
teams and kids like Ned. You
Yeah.
talk about, a tough kid, from Ash Street School, and that was the beauty. That's what we
Yeah.
had. We had
Oh, yeah.
real tough kids at Central, kids that wanted to
Yeah.
compete, kids that wanted to win, and I really appreciate all your support over the years, Ned. You've been a great friend, buddy.
Hey, I'm looking forward to the retirement party. Great
Oh.
job, Stan. You and your family, you did a lot for Manchester, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ned. Listen, good luck. Let's get together.
Hey, Ned. I think is Ned still? Was he working at the waterworks?
I think he was still working for the city. I don't know.
For the
he
city,
might
for the
be
city,
retired
right?
Also.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because we tried to get Ned to play for us. I'm sure we did. Yeah, he was a tough kid. He was a good player.
a year behind me, but
Oh, he's
what
a
a
good player.
great kid, tough kid.
He was a very good player.
If
And a
you
good
needed
kid.
to get a loose ball or a rebound,
Yeah.
that was it.
Okay.
Wow.
Now we're being told it's time to take a break. This will be our only break in this show, and then we'll be right back to continue our discussion with Stan Spiro and Lou D'Alessandro, sharing memories of great coaching careers on both their parts. But our special guest today is Stan, with 8 years at Central and 36 years with Southern New Hampshire University, at a time of incredible growth of that institution and a first-rate basketball program the whole time. We'll be right back, folks. Hey, this is the progress report for the first Wednesday in April, 2018, April 4th, and I'm joined by Lou D'Alessandro. Senator Lou, long history of public service, long history of being an educator, long history of being involved in sports and coaching. And our special guest is Stan Spiro. Long career in coaching and education.
Bob, let me just interrupt you. I was thinking during the break, maybe I should have retired a lot sooner and gotten into politics. I would have still had my hair
right.
like a senator.
Yeah.
All right?
Hey,
There's no stress in politics.
None
no,
whatsoever,
no,
and
no.
you should certainly think about it.
Not at this stage.
It's a piece of cake. Hey,
You would be a formidable candidate, Stan. There's no doubt about it.
Stanley, I can remember going with my dear friend Walter Peterson to a game in Springfield, a triple overtime game that you were coaching, a triple overtime game in the playoffs. Tell us about that game, if you remember that game.
Again, I really don't remember a lot of it, but what I do remember is Governor. The governor,
the
Peterson,
best.
was the greatest.
He was.
What I remember, I'm going to tell you a story. This is how classy and a great guy he was. Our first year at New Hampshire College, we had won, I believe, like 27 games. We went to Elite Eight. Next year, same thing. Following year, we were 2-9 at one stretch, and 2-7, and we were playing down at the Sacred Heart tournament, and we had just lost, and we were 2-8. Same hotel, Franklin Pierce. He grabbed me aside and spent an hour and a half telling me, "Listen, kid, you're a good coach. You hang in there. Good things will happen." An hour and a half, being the president of another university, a competitor, and just gave me a pep talk. I will never forget it. And then, we turned our season around. And just to compete against his teams at Franklin Pierce, not a classier individual. And you know how much he wanted to win. And we had some great battles. And that game, triple overtime against I believe it was North Dakota State.
Right.
Was one of the greatest basketball games that
was terrific
that I was part of, and
Yeah,
we were happy to win it.
Actually, Walter and I drove down to that game. I was working for Walter and Ridge. I was working at Franklin Pierce. I spent the last part of my career working at Franklin Pierce, what was then Franklin Pierce College. But Walter would go to any and every game that was playable. He was there.
A basketball junkie.
He really was. He loved it. He loved it.
Loved the game. As
Loved
a
the
matter
game.
of fact,
Yeah.
people up in Peterborough were telling me that he used to play pickup basketball until he was 65.
Oh, I believe it. For sure.
65, 70 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he loved.
Great
he loved,
man.
He was.
What a
Was
job.
a great man.
Yeah. They don't.
What a great job he had done. Up
Yeah.
at,
Wish we had more people of the Republican Party like him.
Oh my
Oh,
God!
yeah.
That party has changed so much,
Yes.
It's people like Walter Pearson. You just don't
More
find many of them
right.
anymore.
Walter
He's very
Peterson,
unique.
Kim
Yeah.
Zackers,
Yeah, good
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Walter was just a very, very special guy and loved his basketball. When he retired, Dave Gavitt was president of the Celtics at that time, and Dave was a good friend of mine. But Dave went to Peterborough High School, then to Dartmouth. So Dave got us a jersey, number 5, Peterson. And we gave it to Walter.
Oh, I bet he
Walter,
loved that.
Oh yeah,
Oh, wow.
we got it to him when he retired. And so he loved basketball, and we stayed for that whole game, Stan.
Oh,
And we drove back.
And you drove
We
back.
drove back. Yeah,
That was a late game.
Oh
That was
yeah,
a late game.
I drove him back to Ridge, dropped him
Yeah.
off, actually in Peterborough, and then I drove home to Manchester.
It's
And
amazing.
yeah, he really loved basketball.
But Senator, that's what it's all about. Like I
Yeah.
said, I really don't remember a lot, but just to hear those stories,
Yeah.
a lot of people had driven down from Manchester
Yeah.
and the surrounding communities, to go and follow us in Springfield. We had 2 buses leaving back then, New Hampshire College, to follow us when we played in Louisville at the Elite Eight, and it's amazing, the
Oh,
great
yes.
the great memories that you run into somebody out on
Yeah.
the street. Oh, I was at that game,
That's right.
and that's what it's all about.
And sports fans really, the loyal ones are terrific. They're always there, and whether you win or lose, they're always there. That's the most important thing, and they greet you after the game. Tell us about those greetings after the game at the Penn Club that you started at the college.
Well,
which was another
no,
great
actually,
event.
I didn't start it. I don't know if it was. I think it was maybe you or PJ, or I think Tom Sullivan started it. One of the classy things that after every game is to give an opportunity to those people that donate money to the Penman Club, we call it, where they can come up, get a beer and chat and talk a little bit about the game and just, meet other fans and other people that contribute to the program. And it's always great to see, every year, people, contributing to the club and being part of, something special. And that's something I always look forward to doing, whether, win or lose, to come in afterwards and just say a couple words about the game and then mingle and talk a little bit, not about the game, but things in the community, or things about family life,
Right.
and people that you only see maybe once every 3 weeks, and that's something that I think we're the only school that does it.
I think so.
In Division II.
Well, it's a great thing, because you keep those relationships alive, and you keep people being part of the team. The team is not just those 5 on the floor or the extra guys on the bench. All
But
these people are part of the
I
team.
think you've been part of this, in terms of what you do, campaigning politically. If you do something special for someone, you give them a beer, give them a sandwich. If they go out and say a couple positive things about, your campaign or you or your program, our basketball program, it's worth it. That's what
Sure.
it's all about. That's how you develop relationships. That's how people give more. That's how people participate. That's how people come into the campaign. And that's all we were trying to do.
Yeah. And I think that resonates, and that's how you keep it going, and that's how you build this great tradition. And the tradition obviously is fed by the wins that take place, but the tradition goes on. Now, Stan, they're out searching for a replacement. Now, when I left coaching at New Hampshire College, P.J. Carlissimo was my successor. Stayed 1 year.
Right.
So you stayed 36.
Yeah.
So I see him on the ESPN. He does commentary on the games. But how's that going to go, Stan?
Well, right now I've been gone for a couple weeks, and I talked a little bit today with the administration. They have over 180 applicants, for the position.
Yes.
I'm sure they're going to do the right thing. They're going to get it down soon to a working number. I know a couple of my assistants have applied. Jeff Gore and Bob Duffley have been with me for a while. Bill Fody, who was with me for, I believe, maybe 8-10 years, who's the head coach at Kobe Sora. He's an applicant. Have a couple other players, that applied, and they're going to have a national search. They're getting a lot of applicants, and they're going to cut it down, and they're going to make the right decision. Personally, for me, since I have, so many people, involved in the
Sure.
process, the best thing for me is to stay out of it. I told the administration that I will give you everything positive of our people, that I won't say anything negative about anybody, just the positive things that they contributed to our program over the years. And if I could be, of any help with anything, but they going to have a committee, same thing, when I got the job. And I do know that they are getting flooded with, applicants.
Sure.
And,
Which is a testament in itself to the
Oh,
success
sure.
of the program.
it's not only the success of the program, but the success of the school also.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they see it. It's all over
It's a
the
good place.
airwaves. Nationally.
It sure is.
People see it, and the combination of a successful program and successful school with great academics and great vision, good things will happen, and I'm sure
Sure.
they're going to find the right person.
But I think they have to make a decision, though, in a timely manner, because of the recruiting.
Right. Although we're still around, right now, our contracts do not end until June 30th. We signed a couple kids early. Right now, we're still looking for one or two, maybe leave a scholarship, for the next coach. But we're trying to have everything in place for for the next person, so they can hit the ground running. And right now, the assistant coaches had kids today in the gym. Jay, Jeff, and Bob had maybe 6 or 7 recruits in today, trying to evaluate and make the right decision. And we didn't just cut the umbilical cord off.
Right,
When
sure.
I declared, when I announced. Actually, a lot of people, think I retired 33 years ago. I just made it official 2 weeks ago, but that's food for thought.
Well, they got a big day or a big evening coming up for you, Stan. I think it's May 4th at Southern New Hampshire University. Is it going to be in the gym?
That's what they say. I don't know a lot of the details. They just told me to keep that date open,
Right.
to make sure
Yeah,
I make an appearance. But they're having a night. I told them, listen, just, I don't want anything. But, they just, want, some of the people that have supported, our
Sure,
program
over the
over the
years.
years to get together. And
Right.
it's going to be May 4th. And, in terms
Right.
of what they're planning on doing, I have no idea. But
Yeah.
I was told to, to show up, or
To be.
my contract ends on May 4th if I don't.
Well, I think I've seen one of the emails, and doors open at 5:30. Right, a program begins at 6. I think it's going to be May 4th at Southern New Hampshire University. If you want to greet Stan, have a story to say, I think that's how it's being advertised. And there's a phone number that they can call the university and let them know you're coming. But I think that's terrific, and always give those who gave so much to you an opportunity to say thanks, to greet you, and to talk about old relationships.
Well,
for sure.
Tell your viewers, don't forget to bring a gift.
That's right. But it'd be a great. I think it will be a great event, and kudos to the university for putting it together, and the athletic director, who seems to be a terrific guy.
A great guy.
Great guy.
He's a guy that came from St. John's University, worked at Post University, and along with the way this school has evolved,
Right.
we're taking the athletic program to a whole different level.
Yes.
We just built a $25 million new complex.
Yes.
Bob, I don't know if you've seen it.
No, but I'd like to.
With a track and
Oh, yeah.
locker rooms
Yeah.
and weight rooms, top shelf, and again, it's not just the men's basketball program.
it's the whole
There's
program.
a lot of great programs
Oh,
up
sure.
at the university,
Yeah.
and to see it, like I said, from practicing at the boys' club at Goswell
Right.
Street School to some of the gymnasiums that
Goswell
Senator
Park.
D'Alessandro used to secure, to see it,
yeah.
evolved.
Yeah.
It's truly a great story, and I really don't know when it's going to stop, because they're doing such a good job
Yep.
with
Well, I think that.
the online stuff.
Yeah. Sky's the
Understand there's
limit.
even a stool at the Red Diner named for you. Is that right?
There's a diner, no,
Yes.
not that I know of.
Is that not true?
A stool at a diner?
Yeah.
Yeah, there ought to be one.
Well,
Sweet Stan,
so-
or a place at the
or a
poker
menu
table.
item
A
named for
place
you
at
or
the
something.
poker table at the Manchester
At
Country
the
Club.
Manchester Country Club,
You
probably.
deserve a little plaque there, or
Right.
or a special hole on the golf course named after Stanley.
There you
Yes.
go.
Right.
I bet it won't end there. Stan, we're at an end here. It goes by fast, doesn't it? And
It really
we really
does.
appreciate you could join
Come
us, because
yeah.
we are glad to be part of celebrating your great
Well,
your
thank
great
you very
career
much.
and
Thanks for the
assisting to them.
invite. And you guys, Bob, you've been great over the years, and followed your progress, through the political system and
Well, thank
everything
you. Yeah.
first class. And Senator has been a big booster, big supporter. And,
Yeah, we really enjoyed the chance to have you here, and I hope your retirement is joyous and fruitful and exciting as your career has been.
I told him he keeps up the wise remarks. I'm going to run against him for the Senate.
He'd be a
Okay.
worthy opponent.
He was scary, Lou. He was scary.
Bob, I will have 8 birthday parties, not 5.
Yeah, speaking of birthday parties, Stan, we got one coming up.
Send me something in the
I
mail,
will, yeah.
Senator, okay? I'll show up.
Yeah, well,
Right, Bob? Every time I get something, how many birthdays does this guy have?
He has a lot, doesn't he? Folks, I just wanted to remind you that next week Mike Farley will be back, and we will be here with Mike DeSalle, the University of New Hampshire Manchester Dean, who's working with Dean Kamen on the Army program. We're going to be talking about the Advanced Regenerative Medicine Institute, and I think that should be very interesting. That should be quite exciting, and so I hope people will be back with us at that time. And thank you for tuned into the show, and thank our callers, and we've certainly enjoyed the time. Again, thanks. Dan.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Yeah,
you.
all the best, Stanley.
Yeah,
Take
thank
care.
you.
And happy Easter, by the way.
Coming up.